Hey guys, Adam back here in the Aeroworks workshop, and it is Super Duty live night again tonight. We had a couple of weeks off there due to some other circumstances, but we're back tonight. And what is the Super Duty live? Well, it's just pretty much everything Super Duty related. Pretty much the people who follow the
Hey guys, Adam back here in
Super
the
Duty.
Aeroworks
Oh, look, I
workshop,
got
and
my audio going. Hold on.
tonight. We had a couple weeks off there.
Sorry about that. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. We got a special guest tonight, but first we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things, some of the hints and tips and tricks that you can use when you are on the Super Duty Builders Group page. I'm going to show you a little bit of that here in a second. We're going to give it a minute or so. We got about 5 or 6 people in the group chat here. Again, as always, just drop a quick line of who you are, where you're from, who's in watching the live tonight. Just drop a comment down there in the live chat section. And as always, these chats are always replayable at the end and after the video goes live, posted on YouTube permanently, basically. So if you missed tonight's live, you can always go back and watch it later, or if you missed the beginning or something like that, you can go back and watch that later. So we're going to give it just a minute or so here. We've got a few more people joining, and we'll wait for a few comments. In the last episode or two, we left off with I was working on the left wing of the Super Duty, and we're not going to bore you with more left wing stuff. But basically, we got all that tidied up. We got the pitot tube installed. We got the plumbing for the pitot tube installed. We got the wiring done. We got the wiring all tidied up. And then we got to the point where we were going to be installing the tanks, and I realized that I could not find the O-rings for the fuel transducer, basically the fuel gauge that goes in the tank. I had them in and out of the package several times, moved them around different places. And hey, Bob, thanks for joining, College Station, Texas. And I couldn't find my O-rings, and I looked high or low. I didn't want to go to the hardware store and buy some, so I sent a quick message down to Viking, to Alyssa, and said, hey, I can't find it. I lost a set. And she said, no problem. And within, I think it was 2 days, UPS showed up, and I had a full set of 2, both the hardware and the O-rings. So big shout out again to Viking Aircraft Engines and Alyssa and Jan for always having A1 customer support. I was able to get that fuel transducer installed, and then I went to start putting the fittings in, one of them being the fuel strainer, one of the screens that comes right off where the fuel line will be hooking up. And we started kind of test fitting everything up and realized that my AN fittings were the wrong size. I had 3/8 instead of a quarter, and again, I was short some fittings because of some other work that I had done. So that basically, again, put that tank on hold. I had to order more fittings from Aircraft Spruce. Got all that in, so we're not going to go into wing construction tonight, but that's what's been going on there. In the meantime, hey, Scott K. Good to see the live stream again. Awesome. We started working on some of the console, meaning the center console and the switch panel for the aircraft. Now this is the one, if you've seen this, Viking actually sells a couple different variations of this. If you just want to buy their panel, you can buy it just the blank panel. You can buy it with the switches installed, all the way up to the whole thing wired up if you want. I originally got this at some point during the build and was just going to use it as kind of my engine test running scenario where I could just get all the switches mounted up, get everything tested, and I wired that up that way and use that. I am now in the process of kind of disassembling that because over the last week, since I couldn't do the wing work, I started working on some of the center console, and I can show you that. So here is, for instance, some of the center console. These are all custom laid out. I'm not going to go into too much because we got a little bit of a surprise there for you on that, but we're working through getting some of the devices mounted in here as well as down here, and we're going to get this all cut out and all the devices test fit. Then we'll get it sanded down and painted, and then we'll get it all trimmed out with all the devices, and then we'll probably show you at that point. So that's kind of what I've been working on this week. But I did want to do is go over to the Super Duty build group, and we can cut over to that on the computer here. And I know I talk about it a little bit here and there, but if you're not familiar with the Super Duty build group, go ahead and join it if you're just joining us tonight. on the live. What's great about this is it's really targeted towards the Super Duty builder, the Zenith Super Duty builder. We try and, there are some people that are flying cruisers and that tend to join. But again, we're really just trying to focus on Super Duties because they are kind of their own unique thing. One of the big helps and one of the things that I try and update frequently is that this top section here, right under where you see the members, you'll see two categories here. One is media and one is files. And so we'll start with the media one first. If you go into media and then you drop down below here, you're gonna just see a random collage of pictures. These are just all the photos that members have posted. But what I really want you to focus on is the albums. And if you click on albums, these are albums that I've created because when I was starting my build, I couldn't find, modern, updated pictures of just the Super Duty. They were mainly of cruisers and Stoll and other things, and so I wanted to make sure that we had updated pictures. So I started documenting my build. So you'll see here that we have it somewhat broken down by like different areas. We have cabin, we have brakes, we have panel. There's a lot of pictures in the wing section. Here's wing pictures. So if you click on there, you're going to see a lot of high resolution photos that give you an idea of what things look like, at least on my Super Duty build, but you may be doing something slightly different, but at least it gives you better pictures, and at least you know that these are actually of a Super Duty. In fact, you can see here's a picture right here of the other wing that's complete with the proper fuel strainer and the proper 1/4 to 3/8 flare fitting on there that I was just talking about. That was on the wing that was complete. But there are a lot of other areas here that you can go into. Let's see, we can back that up one and go back to, let's say, whether it's the engine photos, engine mounting, firewall, and so on. So there's a lot of good, useful photos in there, and I highly recommend checking that out if you're looking for something, how to fit something up, or if you're not quite sure on the plans. And the other section there is the files section, and this is where we post specific how-tos, instruction guides to those kind of unique things special to the Super Duty. For instance, we've got everything from tire and wheel info on here to updated drawing revisions. We've got pitot tube installation. We've got the 4-point harness as well as the ballistic parachute option listed there. So just a lot of good information in the file section. You can download those and save them on your computer, and then you can use them as needed. If we go back to the discussions, of course, here was our invite for tonight. We've got a lot of members, Greg being one of them. He's been a top contributor, really doing a lot of work on his Super Duty lately. In fact, some of the top posts here, everything from him receiving or his engines on the way to cutting his access hole to finishing a wing. And so I thought it might be nice to talk to a new Super Duty builder, one that is fairly new to building kit aircraft, but we're going to find out a little bit more about his background. And so what I did is I went ahead and invited Greg to join us tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and see if we can't get Greg connected up to us here. Bear with me one second. Okay, let me open this up. Takes 1 second here. That. Okay. Hey, Greg, are you there tonight? Let me move this a little bit closer here. All right, my mic is unmuted. Hey, Greg, can you hear me? And he may be watching the live, which is slightly delayed, so that can put you behind just a little bit, but we'll get him connected here. I know he is connected. There he is. Hang on one sec. I'll make sure this is up. Can you hear me, Greg?
I got you. I can hear you.
There we go.
Like I've got video.
Let me make sure the volume's all the way up on my end, and I'll make sure this one's up. All right. And if you've got anything on your end, Greg, you might want to mute it that's close to your microphone.
Yeah, everything.
Cool.
Everything is muted on my laptop.
All right, cool. Well, hey, Greg, I appreciate you joining us tonight. I know it was short notice. We thought it'd be kind of fun to bring in another Super Duty builder who's, get another perspective from somebody that's building a Super Duty like yourself. And you've been doing a lot of work lately. And I thought it would be interesting for maybe other people to hear maybe some of your experiences, some of the things you're learning. But why don't we start with just a quick introduction of kind of who you are, maybe a little bit about your background in aviation, and then kind of how you got connected with the Super Duty and why you chose it, and where we're at today.
Well, all right. My name is Greg Kuoko. I live in Corrales, New Mexico, which is a couple miles north of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And my background, I've got 35 years heavy jet aircraft mechanic. I work for the UPS airline, and I have zero experience in general aviation. The smallest airplane I've ever worked on, that I've ever touched or looked at, is a 757. So I've got a lot to learn.
Okay.
And the online support with your Super Duty Facebook page and everything on YouTube with Mark P, with you, and of course Roger has been amazing at Zenith. I am getting through it one day at a time.
Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a pretty tight-knit community as far as support goes, and I know one of the reasons I selected Zenith was that support, knowing that you could call or email Zenith or Roger, and we always say Roger. If people don't know, Roger has been there probably as long as everybody else. He's probably been there. I think he's been there 30-something years.
Yeah.
He's their lead kind of test pilot, demo pilot, but he's also their technical support person. So if you call up or send an email to Zenith tech support, Roger's probably going to be the one that's answering that. So when we say Roger, or we mention Roger on the forums, that's why we're saying that. So yeah, he's been a great help. So did you buy your kit all one shebang all at the same time, or did you get components, or?
No, I bought the entire thing all at once. And they sent out a 14-foot-long crate that was 1,100 pounds. There was a supplemental box with the cockpit cage in it and a couple of small items. But yeah, I bought the whole thing all at once. It took me 3 days to inventory everything. I organized all my shelves, and that was December 12th. I started building on December 15th. And now, 91 days later, I got 368 hours invested.
Wow. Yeah,
I know.
That's pretty amazing.
Well, I'm retired. And I go to the gym in the morning. I do a few chores if I need to, and I go straight to the shop.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely one way to get it done. I can't think of anybody that's got that much done. I know the Viking crew, I think when they built that first Super Duty, I want to say Jan said they did that in about 90 days. But again, he had crew members and workers working on that with him.
Yeah.
So that's good. I'm just checking the chat here to see if there's any other. Let's see. JW says, "Welcome, Greg. Cheers from Pensacola." And we got Bob Dennis and Scott's on there, and we've got about 15 other people on there. So yeah, it's kind of the typical crew that joins in. So you got everything unpacked. Did you have all the parts? Were you missing anything, or was it pretty accurate, or did you have back-ordered items?
So far to date, I ordered the dual stick option. And when you do that, you have more shims for the rod ends. And so far to date, with everything I've built and everything I've done, I was missing a handful of nut plates and 6 shims. I made a phone call to Joyce. 3 days later, UPS showed up with all my parts. Right. They have been fantastic.
Awesome. That's great. And how did you, so you went from, you said 35 years, was it, in the heavy jet?
Yeah, 35 years.
How did you go to just picking a kit plane, or what was your thought process behind that?
Well, I've always wanted to build an airplane, even from when I remember talking about it with my buddies in A&P school 37 years ago. And as I started to plan my retirement, I got online and I discovered Mike Patey and Draco. I discovered Trent Palmer and the entire group of these bush plane pilots. I've been heavily involved in off-road Polaris Razors for about 12 years. And I thought to myself, well, this bush plane idea is pretty cool because it's like having my Razor with an airplane.
Right.
And then I started to research airplanes, and the tremendous amount of support for the Super Duty with Jan and Viking, with Mark Pence de Stedler, and I discovered you. There's other videos online, and I thought to myself, I've never built an airplane. I just maintained them. I thought, well, this would really be a huge advantage to have this type of support on my first airplane, and I kind of didn't want to fly on an airplane with fabric wings anyway, so
Right.
here I am.
Yeah, no, I've been in aviation my whole life, but not in an A&P role, not in a mechanic role, not in, it's just been my dad was a bush pilot. I've flown planes since I was 18, flown model airplanes, built planes, went to air shows, the whole thing. But I did the same thing. I was looking at all these different kits, and we look at the little James Bond jet, and we look at bush planes and fast planes, and you kind of have to wean that down to, okay, what can I afford? What's the mission? What can I handle building? And all those things kind of go into the big bowl, and you stir it up, and you figure out what you're going to get out of there. So yeah, same thing here. I had looked at Kit Fox. I had looked at the Rands. I originally wanted to build a Vans RV8. I kind of wanted something fast and sporty, but where I live and kind of what I plan to do with it, I thought, well, that's not probably going to be the best choice. So I started looking at more off-road aircraft, and that's what kind of led me to Zenith and then the Super Duty. So yeah, we're kind of in the same ballpark when it comes to that. Now you kind of have an interesting thing is that what's your flying experience?
My flying experience is zero. I don't even have my pilot's license yet. So I'm doing this a little bit backwards.
Yeah.
And the guys at my local EAA group, they teased me a little bit about that. I'm not a pilot, and not yet. And I've been doing my research, and it looks like I have to do some more research and contact some bigwigs at the National EAA. But I think, and I've got several retired airline pilot buddies from UPS that are CFIs, I think I'm going to learn to fly in my airplane.
Yeah, I think it's loosened up a little bit. I know, and I don't know because I'm definitely not the expert in that area, but I know that in order for a CFI to teach an experimental, you had to have a special waiver. I don't know anything exactly about that, but if somebody does, they can comment. But I think part of that whole mosaic, if I'm not totally wrong on that, I think some of that helped some of that. But yeah, so that's good. So you have a feeling that you're going to be able to actually learn in your plane.
I would like to, if that works out. If it's allowed, I would like to.
Yeah.
If not, I've got a couple of buddies. Like I said, they're CFIs. They own airplanes. One of my pilot buddies owns more than one airplane. And for the cost of gas and lunch, I'll get my pilot's license.
Yeah. Well, I do know, and I know from flying in the Super Duty and talking to Roger and watching some of Roger's flying videos, that Super Duty definitely does fly way different than like a Cessna 150 or 172, which is what most people get their licenses in. Mainly because of that big chunky stole wing and the fact that you don't just kind of pitch for approach to landing and then just glide in. This one really starts to drop when you start to bring the nose up, and you got to add power. So yeah, definitely get the transition training or get the training, and if you can do it in yours, that's awesome. I've been flying. I've flown all kinds of planes, Cirrus and Diamond, and I own a Cardinal that we fly. And so my plan is to fly this myself. A lot of people, they have other people fly it the first time, but I'm like, the Wright brothers didn't have the fly. And I want to do it safely. But that's my plan. It could change when I get to that point. Could change a little bit, but that's my plan, is to fly it myself. So, well, maybe if you got your mobile, or are you on your laptop or your mobile?
I've got you on my phone, so
okay.
I can swing around if you'd like, and if you guys want to take a look at my shop and my airplane, I'm happy to show you.
That'd be great. Maybe show us what somebody can do with unlimited time during the day after the gym workout in 90 days from zero, from a box.
Let's see here. I've got to figure out how. Here it is.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I think I did it right, Adam.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is my workshop right here. My garage, my workshop is 3,250 square feet. Got a lift in there. Here's the fuselage, motor coach, RV garage, and there's behind me. There's a large 2-car garage for our cars. This is the right wing right here.
Okay.
And I built both wing skeletons in one day, and put the one skeleton off to the side, and started on, I just happen to have the right one right here. So you can see I've got it leveled.
Right.
With shims and 2x4s, and it's blocked into place. Today, I just ran all my wiring and my fuel lines and the trailing edge, made these brackets.
Right.
And I got the vent line going up, Aircraft Specialties. I took your advice on that. So there's the wing right here on the right-hand side. Fuel tank is right there. My engine will be here Thursday along with my fuel transducers.
Nice.
So at that point, I will take the fuel tanks in to have them welded. And here's the fuselage right here.
Yep.
Dual stick option, as you can see in here.
Right.
Everything's been powder coated. And I don't think you can make it out very well, but the ELT's been installed. The flap motor's been installed. I had the cockpit cage powder coated, had the firewall powder coated. These are all my shelves, and everything was organized. And this top shelf right here is all Dynon. Everything you can think of Dynon, I just got a little carried away, and I bought it.
Yeah, there's a couple of us that have done that. Yeah, they have a really nice setup. I think they're one of the innovators. I mean, everybody knows Garmin, of course, but Garmin is so expensive, and Dynon, I think, has a lot more options when it comes to the experimental world, especially in the Super Duty realm. So.
Well, Dynon was fantastic. I made a phone call. The guy picked up the phone, and we had a 40-minute conversation.
Yeah.
And he gave me everything I needed, every part number, everything he thought I could use, all my pre-made harnesses and everything. So it was a one-stop shop. I was pretty excited. This is the left wing skeleton, some left wing skins. This is the elevator, and there's the stabilizer.
Right. So you're getting real close.
You see here.
Real close to having all the big parts done.
Excuse me?
I said you're getting real close to having all the big pieces done then.
Yeah,
once you close
this
up the wing.
table right here, this workbench right here has got the top wing skin for the right wing that I'm working on right now. And everything you see here was completed in 91 days.
Wow. That's an amazing feat, but like you said, if you get out and do it, and I know the wing skeletons, I think I mentioned that before, once you lay them all out and divide them in half and make sure you got the left ones and the right ones, that they go together pretty quickly, and especially once you do one, the second one goes even quicker.
Went together very quickly.
It's
ELT antenna.
Yep.
Comm antenna. So she's coming along really nicely.
Really nice. Now, do you have a goal in mind when you're trying to what you're shooting for? Or are you just trying to plug away and get it done as quick as you can?
No, I don't have any goal in mind at all. I am just building, and every day I come out to my workshop, I build, and when I get done, I get done. I estimate I could probably fly this thing a year from now, because of course, as you well know, things slow down.
Yeah.
You're working on the panel, working on the dual sticks, a lot of tedious stuff. So it's really difficult to estimate. But I think maybe I could fly this thing, but get it in the air maybe a year from now. I'm at 300. I think I said 68 hours. So I suspect it'll be about 1,000-hour build, like everybody says.
Yeah, and I think Dave Telema, who flies Jumbo, he calls it, the white cruiser. If you've ever seen any of the other Zenith pages, he does a lot of stuff with Viking as well. He was kind of in the same boat as you as far as time access, and I think he did his right at almost exactly a year, from zero to finish. So, yeah, and he's been flying his. I think he's flown it every single day pretty much since then. So, yeah, it's definitely possible. Time is obviously, that's always the big question. It's a big arbitrary number. If you've got, if you're retired and you've got all day to work on it, you're going to get it a lot done quicker than somebody like myself who's got 6 kids and 2 jobs and 2 companies and all kinds of stuff going on. So there's
that sounds like I really like not having a job, Adam. So
yeah. So, well, hey, I appreciate it. I won't keep you on all night. I know we all got stuff to do, but you're welcome to stay on the chat and to join or follow along with anybody that's got questions. Let's see, JW, I'm pretty sure he can receive instruction in his airplane since he's the owner. Yeah, I think that's one of the big stipulations is like somebody building a plane, a flight school can't use it as a training aircraft, but you probably can. So, yeah, but again, check with whoever you need to on that. I'm sure you got the people that can answer those questions. But, well, I appreciate the short notice getting on here, Greg. I'll get off the Zoom call. We'll keep the live going. And like I said, you're welcome to stay, but keep building and keep asking questions, and appreciate you sharing your build and your time-lapse videos keep us motivated to.
I'd like to say I really appreciate you and all the guys who have helped me out, because I pose questions while I'm building, and invariably someone, you or someone else, just minutes, I get an answer, I get some guidance, I get some direction, and with the, I'm brand new to general aviation. This is my first build, so yeah, you guys have been great. It's been a fantastic source of support, and I'm just going to keep on building.
There you go, keep on building. There's your saying. So, all right, Greg. Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, I'll disconnect here, and thanks again for joining. And good luck on your build, and keep asking questions anytime.
Well, thank you for having me. See you. Good
night.
Right,
we'll see you. Yep. All right, guys. Well, hope you enjoyed Greg joining in there. And like I said, Greg's welcome to hang out and on the live chat. If you've got any questions, I'd like to know more about where you guys are at in your build. Are you, if you gave it a number, are you 50% done? Are you 10% done? Are you 90% done? We've got that old saying, I'm 90% done with 90% to go. It's kind of a pretty common one in this industry, because you look at everything and you go, well, hey, I've got my wings done, I got my fuselage done, I got my engine hung. Man, that's just like a couple bolts, and no, it's not a couple bolts, but you know how it goes. So there's a lot of things there. I want to give also a recommendation too. I primarily use, I'm going to bring this mic up here, Major. I primarily use Aircraft Spruce for hardware. They're mainly because they have a Midwest distribution hub. I'm in Wisconsin, they're in Illinois. If I order today, or not today, but if I order before noon on any weekday, I have it the next day. So that's just a no-brainer for me when it comes to AN hardware. Any of the bolts that you see on the airplane or in the kit, you always need a few more. You strip a couple, or maybe you've tightened one too many times. You want to use a new nut, which you should do anyways. But I use them primarily for anything when it comes to any of the parts I ordered for the Super Duty. Avionics I got through them. I got their hardware through them. Not sponsored by them. I'm just telling you, they're very reliable when it comes to that kind of stuff. But recently I've had some electrical needs, and whether it's custom circuit breakers that are the pull-out kind that you can actually reset or turn off yourself, versus the ones that only pop out when they pop and you have to push them in. I've been using the Stein Aircraft, and they have been supplying a lot of the custom little parts that I've needed recently. So again, I will give them a shout out. So it's just Stein Air, I guess is what they go by. They have a lot of electrical stuff. They're not a huge catalog like Aircraft Spruce, but they do have some pretty cool items. And one of the items I got here, I'm going to show you. I was trying to figure out how to lay out my avionics master, because obviously I've got solenoids for the master and for all the other stuff and power and all that. But they've got this really cool pre-made up switch relay, and I'm sure you could buy all these components individually and build it yourself. But if you're looking for just kind of quick and easy and done for you, I'll pull this out real quick. This is essentially it's designed to be an avionics master relay setup. So it's already pre-wired with everything. This would be where your avionics master bus would land on, and then this would be your trigger wire, and then the relay and all that's all set up for you. Again, you could do this all individually and buy this block yourself and this relay and make a plate. But if you're just looking for down and dirty and be done with it, that's a cool option. It was definitely under $100 for the whole thing. And then they even give you a little basic schematic here. So you can see your main power is down here, main power feeding this block, and then how it all works there. So really nice. They had that. I was actually in the market for something for the avionics main bus, and they had that pre-made, and I was like, that's a done deal for me. Also got a bunch of my custom circuit breakers there, as well as, if you remember back when we were talking about the pitot heat wiring, I needed a 2-conductor 14 gauge wire, and they had it, and Aircraft Spruce didn't have the one I wanted. So just a couple options there. We'll drop those links in the description of the video just for future reference. Let me see here. Looks like we got a couple other questions. Let's see. I thought I saw one pop up there that was new. Yeah, landing is the tricky part. Greg will pick up the flying with the prior skill set he has. Let's see. Scott says, Greg, your machine, thumbs up. And yep, we've got the Facebook group on there. So, yeah, that's basically kind of where we're at on the Super Duty build this week. I'm going to show you, I'm going to cut over to the engine here because I've been trying to fit up my cowling. And Jan and Alyssa have a great, well, they have several videos about cowling installation, but if you go down far enough in the list of their videos on the playlist, there's one that actually says cowling installation. It is on a Viking 130, which is slightly different, but the concept's the same. And I was trying to fit up my cowling the other day, and I was having some difficulties because of where my radiator was mounted. But after I watched the video a couple times, look at a couple more of their videos on the Super Duty, I could see where I need to make some trim. So I'm going to cut over there really quick to the engine bay just to show you a couple things. So one of the first things you do when you are mounting up your cowling is you have to make this backer plate, which is essentially your spinner backer, because that's what the cowling is going to base itself off of to start with, and then you're going to work your way back to the sides of the fuselage, and with the ultimate goal of that cowling really just hanging over about, you know, 1/8 of an inch, if not even just flush. In fact, the Viking Super Duty, using the piano hinges, their cowling actually just butts up against this aluminum here on the side of the fuselage, and it's divided by the piano hinges. And what I was finding actually on my cowling, because the cowling that was built for this Super Duty here was the original Lycoming cowling, and I can bring that over. We can just stay on that camera there. I'll bring it over here. Okay, so here is the original cowling that was designed for the Lycoming engine, and it's been basically adapted for the Viking engine. So you can see here, I don't have a lot of stuff trimmed or cut yet, but basically this is going to mount up on there, and then once we get this all adjusted, those side panels will be flush with the sides, and we can start mounting them to our piano hinges. I definitely have to do some trimming down around my radiator because obviously there's some fluctuations in where the radiator gets mounted on the belly from the original Super Duty or at least Viking Super Duty. There's probably some differences there, and that's why we've got to make some slight adjustments. Knowing that the fiberglass can be touched up anyways, I'm not too concerned with trimming it back or opening it up a little bit. So that's probably going to be one of our next big tasks after we close this wing up this next week. We've got, now that we have all the fuel pieces in there, we can actually finish up that wing with the fuel tank, put the skins on. That wing's done and we'll be out of the tank, or out of the cradle, be in the cradle, off the table, and we will be working on probably flapperons and slats consecutively with fitting up this cowling when I have an extra set of hands there. Just to jump back to the wing back here, we have, again, it's still opened up because we're waiting on that tank, but you can see, very similar to Greg's build, we've got all of our plumbing, pitot tubes, wiring is all going through brackets, zip tied, everything's protected, zip tied up where it needs to be, tidied up, and basically ready for the tank installation, followed by the skinning of the top wing. We've got our fuel transducers in. I can rotate the camera around here just to show you that. Right there. And it was this O-ring and these bolts under here that I was missing, and I was able to get those. The other thing that we had the issue with was the right here. This is where the fuel supply comes from, and this is where that screened filter goes in, which is basically like a bushing followed by the AN 1/4 inch to 3/8 fuel line tube, and I didn't have that fitting there. So now that I have all that, I'll be able to assemble all this up and finish it. One thing to keep in mind, before you put your expensive, well, they're not that expensive, but before you put your finished aluminum AN fittings in here. You might want to run a brass plug through here, or even a steel plug for that matter, because I have noticed that these threads are slightly, they're a little bit sometimes chewed up. Not necessarily chewed up, but they're not perfectly straight. When you go to put a softer, aluminum, lightweight aluminum AN fitting in there, you might find that it gets kind of jammed or chunked, or chipped up. So running something a little harder through there first, cleaning it out, making sure the tank is clear of everything is a good idea. With that same topic, you might have noticed a picture that I posted online about new fuel tanks and making sure that the shavings were cleaned out. And I clarified on the website, or on the forum, that was not the way I received the tank from Zenith. That was because the welder I hired a year or two ago to weld these in, when he cut his hole here, he didn't do the best job of cleaning all the shavings out. So I was left with a bunch of shavings down in these corners. And the way you want to get those out is, dump them out the best you can, but you're going to notice that every hole here is off the edge a little bit, so you can't just tip it on in and dump them out. And you don't want to jam a vacuum cleaner on here, because you can actually suck these fuel tanks inside out like a tin can. So what I did is, with all the caps off, the fuel cap and the fuel transducer removed, so I had large openings, I actually attached a very small tube to my regular shop vac so that I wasn't going to be filling up the whole hole. I banged and shook all the shavings down to the bottom corner, and then went in and suctioned those out like a surgeon, leaving all the other openings open. And even that little bit of differential in pressure was even making some noises with the tank. So you definitely don't want to just stick a hose on there and try and suck out the shavings, because it does weird things not only with the tank, but it creates a weird vacuum in there, and they end up blowing around even worse than getting sucked out. So just keep that in mind, that try and use something small, shake them out as best you can, and don't put a big a vacuum hose in there, because you could suck your tank inside out. One other recommendation, again, this is not a requirement by any means, but if you've got your full set of plans, the ones that you get with your kit, I've got mine right behind me here. These are your plans you get from Zenith, and these are kind of your working plans, and they typically are around the shop, for however long it takes you to build. In my case, it's been 3 years this set's been moving around. They get kind of mangled up and messed up. You can, if you're willing to, take the PDF that you can download from the Google Drive, the full set of plans, which is typically the latest set of plans. You can send that over to Kinko's and just have them make you a small 8.5 by 11 set. What's nice with this is you can take it with you if you want to refer to something or kind of review it a little bit. It's a second set of plans that you always have, whether you've been marking up that one or if you want to mark up this one. But just an idea, something you can do. It doesn't cost that much. It's black and white, one-sided, and it's a nice way to refer to your plans without having to carry the big set around. So just something to keep in mind there. Yeah, and Bob says he had to chase those with a tap. Yeah, so definitely check those threaded fittings. Again, here's the brass one that is supplied from Zenith. It's a brass bushing with the net on here. This is your raw fuel strainer right out of the bottom of the tank. Even taking this one in there first is better than nothing, but you definitely don't want to just go right in there with a lightweight aluminum AN fitting, because it'll get chewed up and cross-threaded. I'm trying to think if there's anything else pertinent, any other new products or anything that we got for the... We did, but we're going to be showing you that with the console soon. I'm just checking the chat here. And let's see. I don't see any other new comments in there. If anybody else has any other questions regarding the Super Duty or something about Greg's build, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer that. And like I said, we're going to be, now that we have all the fittings for that wing tank, we can really button up that wing tank, get it installed, and really getting that other wing off the table, and then finishing up the we got to do the flaperons and the aileron, or excuse me, the flaperons and the slats, both of which, of course, are in 2 sections per wing. So that's 4 total slats and 4 total flaperons/ailerons or flaperons. So I understand that those are fairly straightforward to put together. I've watched enough people do it, and they're basically just ribs and the 2 skins. There's not much else to it. So once those get done, we will have all of the components built, minus windows installed. And so we're going to leave obviously our front window out because we got to finish all that wiring on the instrument panel and behind the panel. But we will work on probably getting windows on doors trimmed and ready to go on. But then we'll probably be looking at getting this thing painted. So we'll be covering that a little bit here in the shop. We've got an inflatable booth that we're going to be using that I purchased about a year ago. It's about a 24 by 12 by 10 inflatable paint booth with fans and everything. So the whole thing will blow up in here. We'll roll the fuselage in for painting the fuselage, take the fuselage out, roll the wing rack in. So we'll be able to do probably all the painting here in the shop. But I'm kind of thinking of rigging up the wings first to make sure that if I have to, drill out a rivet or cut a piece of, sheet metal smaller, I could do all that fitting up first, then take the wings off, paint them, and then basically they're stored and ready to go to the airport for reassembly. So that's kind of my process. If you guys have a different idea or recommendation, I'm definitely open to that. But that's kind of the plan. Obviously, some of our parts are already painted or powder coated, so it's not really going to make a big deal to paint the fuselage in here, but the wings, because we got the trailing edge skins off and some of the other panels and wing tips and things, that we may want to kind of finish as much as we can, paint them, and then then we'll take them out to the airport after we fit them up. So that is the plan there. Well, guys, we're at 8:12. I know it's not a full hour, but we're going to probably wrap it up for today. I don't want to keep you guys tied down to the YouTube too long tonight. Again, I appreciate all the regular people coming in, Bob and Scott. I know we have 2 Scotts here. Aaron's in, Jason's here, and of course Greg, our special guest tonight, and Bob, and I think I already mentioned Bob, but Bob's here every week. So it's nice to see the same faces. The biggest compliment you can make if you're not already subscribed to the channel is hit the subscribe button. That always helps the channel. Here's Kent. Kent just dropped in. I would recommend test fitting for sure. Yeah, that's my plan. And Kent did a unique paint job on his aircraft, and he actually did like a Cerakote coating. And why am I'm going blank on the name, Kent, if you want to drop it in the comments. But I think it was Cerakote, which is typically used in the firearms industry, but he did a very unique paint job on his Super Duty. In fact, he posted it. Hey, Bill, nice to see you. He posted that a while back in there regarding one of his finish. I don't remember if it was in the regular Zenith form or if it was in the Super Duties, but you could definitely look that up. So that's the kind of the cool thing about kit aircraft is we've got people doing all kinds of different things. They're all safe. It's just they're not traditional aviation techniques that people have used. But the fact that we can put the latest, greatest avionics in our aircraft, we can buy experimental avionics, which we all know are way less than traditional certified aircraft avionics. Yeah, Kent says black velvet Cerakote with wrap. Okay, so interesting. You got a combination of 2 things going on there. So yeah, some really cool things. We've seen fully wrapped aircraft. We've seen full aluminum aircraft. We've seen now Cerakote, powder coat. So we got a little bit of everything going on, and it's really up to you, and that's kind of what makes everything unique and individual to the builder and their style and all that. So, well, I appreciate, guys, everybody joining in. Again, we're trying to do these regularly. It does take a lot of effort to do these, believe it or not, and it pulls us away from building, but we enjoy doing it. It's something that we like to share with everybody. We don't charge for any of this stuff. We don't ask for any money. We're not asking for donations. It's just all for the love of aviation and kind of the community. And since we can't all always, be at events together, this is our way to kind of join up and share knowledge and communicate. If you're interested in possibly being on the guest, as Greg was earlier this evening, definitely shoot me a message either in Messenger or you know, in the chat, leave a comment. We can definitely work something out, and we'll get you in on a Zoom call. Maybe take a look at your build. You can share your workshop. One thing I've noticed, and maybe you guys can agree to this, is there's not a lot of Super Duty videos out there, you know, besides the factory Super Duty and one or two others for how many Super Duties are actually built and flying, which is, I think, in the 100+ range, I want to say. There's a lot of people that just aren't YouTubers. They're not social media people. And I don't know about you, but when I research a product, I like to look at everything. I go on the internet, I look at YouTube videos. I like to see everything inside and out. And there just really isn't a lot of content. So if you're willing to share, you know, your build, your workshop, definitely drop us a comment, because we'd love to incorporate you in these live videos that we do here on YouTube. At minimum, feel free to share it on the Super Duty build group. You can share a video, you can share a photo, you can share anything you want pretty much related to Super Duty. So I think we went through all the comments, and so with that, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. It is 8:16 here in Wisconsin Central Time, and appreciate, again, Greg for joining us. Appreciate everybody joining in and commenting, and it's Adam from the Aeroworks Workshop, and we will see you on the next video.